Okay, so today what you're going to do is we're going to start working on our new unit, and we're going to journal 2 pages today. And so I want you to get out your math journal and turn to the table of contents pages, and I'll give you just a second to do that. Okay, and so then the first page that we're going to do today is we're going to do what's called input-output tables. And so please write down page 23, input/output tables. Okay, and then the next page we're going to do is page 24, and that's going to be strip diagrams. And that should be very familiar because I know y'all did that a lot in 3rd grade. Okay, so go ahead and write those 2 pages down in the table of contents page. All right, and so then you're going to turn in your journal. So let's see, the very last thing we did was interpreting remainders. And so that should be on page 22. And so then we will be putting input-output tables on page 23. So go ahead and you should have gotten 3 papers, 1 large one and 2 smaller ones. And so let's go ahead and do the large one first, and it's called input-output tables. Okay, so I like to think of input-output tables kind of like a machine. When you put something in, something happens, and then something new comes out. So what you need to do is you're going to find the rule, and when you find the rule, you're going to put a number in. The expression is also known as the rule, and then you're going to get a number that comes out. And so let's look at this hint right here. It says if the numbers are going from smaller to bigger, you will be adding or multiplying. So let's kind of like make that big so we kind of have an idea of what we're doing. So if the numbers are going from smaller to bigger, so if they're starting small and getting bigger, so let's look here. So this is a 3, is 18 bigger? Yes, it's getting bigger. 4 to 24, is it getting bigger? Yes. 5 to 30, getting bigger. Okay, so by that we know we're either going to be adding or multiplying. Okay, so what can we do that's the same every single time to go from 3 to get 18, but it would be the same to go from 4 to get to 24, 5 to 30. So what could we do? Let's see. 3 plus 15 is 18, but 4 plus 15 is not 24. Okay, maybe try multiplying. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. Okay, let's see if 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, is 5 times 6 30? Yes. Okay, so let's say if our rule, our expression was times 6. So I'm going to write that in here. So then 6 times 6 would be 36. And then 7 times 6 would be 42. Okay, let's look at this one. It says find the rule to complete the table. So now let's look. If the numbers are going from bigger to smaller, you will either be subtracting or dividing. Okay, so let's pay attention to that. So if the numbers start big and get smaller, you're either going to be subtracting or dividing. Okay, so 16, and then we're going to 4. So this is bigger going to smaller. So then we have 20 going to 5, bigger going to smaller. So we know in this table, we're either going to be subtracting or dividing. Now we have to find the rule that is the same for each time. Okay, so we went from 16 to 4, then 20 to 5, and then we don't know, but they got 6 here, and then 28 to we don't know. So how could we have gotten from 16 to 4 that would be the same for 20 to 5? Okay, let's see. Well, going from 20 to 5, that would be minus 15. Is 16 minus 15 4? No, it would be 1. Okay, what about division? Let's think. 16 divided by 8 is 2, so no. What about 16 divided by 4 is 4? Okay, so then 20 divided by 4, is it 5? Yes. Okay, so then let's see, 28 divided by 4 will be 7. So then if we're going this way for division, what would 6 times 4 be? It might be 24, right? So 16, we said 16 divided by 4 was 4. 20 divided by 4 was 5. And then we had to work backwards to get 24, but 24 divided by 4 is 6. And then we said 28 divided by 4 was 7. And so then we're going to do the same thing here with saying 8 times 4 would be 32. And then 32 divided by 4 would be 8. Good. Okay, so let's read these problems down here and then try to fill in the input-output table. It says each chair in the classroom has 4 legs. Complete the table to show this pattern. If there are 18 chairs in the classroom, how many legs are there altogether? Okay, so we have, if there's 1 chair, it's got 4 legs. So we're going from a smaller number to a bigger number, so we're either going to be adding or multiplying. So I went from 1 to 4, so here we have 1 chair has 4 legs. So if I've got 18 chairs, then how many legs would I have? So I've got to multiply. So that's why we're seeing 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. And 4 times 4 is 16. It's kind of like making a T-chart. So then I would continue my chart until I got to 18. So then I'm saying if I have 18 chairs, how many legs do I have? Because each chair has 4 legs. So 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So then in this problem, there would be 72 legs. Okay, let's look at this one. Each day, Joseph puts $2 in his piggy bank. Complete the table to show the pattern. How many dollars will he have after 7 days? Okay, so if we have $2 per day. So 1 day is $2. So that's like saying 1 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 0 times 2 is 0. So it's asking for 7. So it wants us to say what is 2 times 7. So that would be 14. So after 7 days, he would have $14. Okay. Victor is drawing hexagons on his paper. Complete the table to show the relationship between the numbers of hexagons drawn and the number of sides. How many hexagons did he draw if there is a total of 48 sides? Okay, so hexagons, I don't know if you guys know about hexagons. Maybe you learned it last year. Hexagon is a shape, and hexagons have 6 sides. So I think we're going to be using that number 6 somewhere in here. So we went from 24 to 4. So we went from a larger number to a smaller number. So if we look back up here, we know we're either going to be subtracting or dividing. But we also know that a hexagon has 6 sides. So we're going to be using 6. So let's see what I know. I know that 24 divided by 6 is 4. So how to get a number over here, I might say 5 times 6, excuse me, I said that backwards. 5 times 6 is 30. And again,
oh, I'm sorry.
And again, 30 divided by 6 would give me 5. Then 6 times 6 would give me 36. And 36 divided by 6 is 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Also 42 divided by 6 is 7. Okay, last one. Maria watches... Oh, wait. Sorry, go back to the question. It says, how many hexagons did he draw if there's 48 sides? So it's asking us to say 48 divided by 6. So if we continue, what times 6 gives me 48? Well, it would be 8. So there would be 8 hexagons. He drew 8 hexagons. Maria watches 25 more minutes of TV a day than her brother. Jason completes the table to show the relationship. Maria watches 25 more minutes of TV a day than her brother Jason. Complete the table to show the relationship between the amount of time they each get to spend watching television. If Jason watches 30 minutes of television, how many minutes does Maria watch? So every time he watches TV, she watches 25 more. Okay, so we're going from a smaller number to a bigger number. So we know we're either going to be adding or multiplying. And then this word more, so she watches 25 more minutes. So if I say 10 plus 25, then I know it's going to be 35. 15 plus 25 and 20 plus 25. So what is 25 plus 15? 5 plus 5 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. And then 20 plus 25 is going to be 45. Now it's asking for 30 minutes, so we're going to add 30 plus 25. We're going to get 55. So the answer to that question will be 55 minutes. All right, and so real quick before we glue that in, just want to take a minute and I want to make a note of one thing, and I'm going to look in my journal from last year because I want to make sure that I told you guys everything that you needed to know. Okay. Yep, okay. I did. So now what I want you to do is take that journal, put it back in front of you again. I'm trying to make this smaller so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and you're going to take your input-output pages that we just did, and you're going to fold it in half hamburger. So on your desk, it's going to look like this, and you're just going to fold it in half hamburger. And you're going to... Okay, and then you're going to take your glue stick. And you're going to glue the edge, just like so. And you're going to glue it down. Okay, and then this is page, let's check our table of contents because now I forgot, it's page 23. So at the bottom corner, we're going to write a 23. And then we're going to turn to the next page and we're going to talk about strip diagrams. Okay, so this small page in front of us, I'll try to make it bigger so you can see it better. All right, a strip diagram is a model that looks like a strip of tape. They can also be called tape diagrams and bar models. They are used to represent number relationships. Strip diagrams can show addition and subtraction relationships, as well as multiplication and division relationships. Strip diagrams have parts and wholes. You will have to solve for either the missing part, or parts of the diagram, or the missing whole. Here are some examples of what a part-whole model might look like. So here you have one part and another part, and then you have a whole. So that's, if you're missing the whole, you would have to add both of the parts together. So here, that's what that's telling you to do. So if you're missing the whole and you have both of the parts, then you would add the parts together to get the whole. So then here, if you have one part and a whole and you're missing the other part, then you're going to subtract. Okay, and then here, if you have lots of parts and you're trying to figure out the whole based on how many parts you have, then you will be multiplying. And let me show you what I mean by that. So let's look down here. So I have the whole and I have one of the parts, and I've got to find the missing part. So like I said, here we're going to subtract. So we have 29 minus 13. So 9 minus 3 is 6, 2 minus 1 is 1. So then 16 is our missing part. Okay, here I know 2 parts, but I'm missing the whole. So like I said up here, we're going to add. So I'm going to take 61 plus 39. So 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 6 is 7, and 7 plus 3 is 10. So then my missing whole is 100. Okay, and then here I have 4 parts that are each 7. So I have 7 times 4 because I have 4 7s. Does that make sense? So 7 times 4 gives me 28. So my whole is 28 here. Okay, now let's look at this other part. This is probably a little bit more of what you're used to. You probably did quite a bit of this last year with Miss Barrett and Miss Angel and Miss Rice, where you had a word problem and then you used a stroke diagram to solve the word problem. Okay, so if we had something like Mark jogged 32 miles 1 week, 14 miles the next week, and 12 miles the third week, how many total miles T did he jog? And so this is 1 week, this is 2 weeks, and this is 3 weeks. So what we would have to do to solve is we would have to add all of the weeks together to get the total. So we would have 32 plus 14 plus 12 equals whatever we're equaling. So let's take 32 plus 14 first. 2 plus 4 is 6. 3 plus 1 is 4. And then we're going to take 46 plus 12. 6 plus 2 is 8. 4 plus 1 is 5. So then this 58 miles should be how much he jogged. All right. A grocery store sold 200 sodas in 1 hour. 40 of the sodas sold were diet. How many sodas sold S were not diet? So we know our whole and we know one of our parts, but we're missing the part. So we're going to subtract. So we're going to say our equation is going to say 200 minus 40 equals, we don't know yet. So then we're going to take 200 minus 40. Now, 0 minus 0 is 0, but look, I can't do 0 minus 4. So I'm going to borrow. That becomes 1. That becomes 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 1 minus 0 is 1. So then there's 160 sodas that are not diet. Okay. There were 1,880 cars in the entire garage. 1,460 were parked in the first 4 floors. 220 cars were on the 5th floor. How many cars C were on the 6th floor? Okay, so this is our total. This is one of our parts, and this is another one of our parts, and here's our missing part. So this is actually a 2-step problem. Okay, let's zoom in just a little bit. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to figure out how many parts we have with 220 and 1,416. So we have 1,460, plus 220. 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 2 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So our total is 1,880. And we have 1,680. But we've got to figure out how much we have to get to this. So now step 2 is going to be to subtract. So now we have 1,880 minus 1,680. 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 8 is 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So then C is going to equal 200. So our missing part is 200. Okay. A school supply company sold 320 markers to an elementary school. 210 markers were delivered to 4th grade. How many markers M were left? So here's our total. Here's what we know. So we have a whole and a part. We got to find the missing part. So we're going to subtract. So we have 320 minus 210. 0 minus 0 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. So this M is going to be 110. All right, a package of paper had 230 sheets of paper left in it. If 40 sheets of paper had already been used, how many pages P did the package of paper have before it was opened? So, here's the whole. We had 230 and we had 40. So how are we going to get the whole? Well, we're going to need to add these two together. So we're going to need to say 230 plus 40. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 0 is 2. So then that P is going to be 270. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the first page that we did, which was this, and let's take it, and it's already cut for us, so let's take it and glue it down in our journal on page 24. And so let's glue that down just like that, and then we're gonna write page 24 just like that. Oops, don't hit it. So just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna take this page that we just did, and I'm gonna put it in my orange folder because it was guided. We did it together. Okay. All right, and so now I'm gonna close my journal and put it back in my desk. And then you're going to go into the Google Classroom. And in the Google Classroom, you should see an Edpuzzle about input-output tables. And I want you to do that and watch the video and complete anything that is with that. And when you're done with that, I want you to get on Progress Learning and go to My Study Plan in that left-hand corner and do any of the things that you need to practice.